What is going on, everyone? We've got a story today. This is going to be an edible and smoke sesh story. It's a pretty cool story, I guess. So, yeah, let's get into it. So, this story happened a couple of weeks ago, and I was just chilling at home. I was playing on my computer, and Vanessa calls me. My friend Vanessa calls me, and she's like, "Hey, come over. Dan's over. We're smoking. Come chill with us." So I'm like, okay. And then they start talking about edibles, and I'm like, whoa, edibles. Now, where I live, you can't really get edibles, so I was pretty excited to hear this. So I was like, okay, edibles. And I don't remember who mentioned it, whether it was Vanessa or Dan, but somebody had mentioned that they could make edibles, and I was like, whoa, I've got over an ounce of weed, I could totally make edibles, like, let me come over and make them. So we're chatting on the phone, and we slowly kind of figured out that we weren't going to be able to make these edibles because her dad was going to get home, and I don't think he would really like us making edibles in his house and in his kitchen and stuff. So we just didn't end up making those edibles. But I go over to her house, we're chilling, we're rolling up some blunts, we start smoking them, and while we're smoking them, Dan's like, "Hey, I can get us some edibles." And I'm like, "Okay, how much?" And he's sitting there, he's texting the plug, he's trying to figure out how much it is, and he's like, "Okay, they're $10 each." And they were these cookies. They were really good. I'll tell you about that in just a second. But he's like, they're $10 each. So I hand him the money. He's like, "Okay, we got to go over there. We're going to wait a moment, for him to text us back and say that we can get over there." So we're waiting, and we're getting ready to go because this was like a couple miles of a walk to the plug's house. So we're getting our stuff together. We're getting our backpacks and our jackets and stuff, and me and Vanessa and Dan, we're all getting ready, but we're about to walk out of the door, and Vanessa's trying to find the house key to lock the door, and she just can't find it. We looked for quite a long time, and while we were looking, the plug texts us back, and they're like, "Okay, come over," and we were like, "Okay, Vanessa, we gotta go," so we kind of just left her there. She was like, "Okay, that's fine, you guys go without me," so me and Dan, we go and walk over there. It felt like we were walking forever, but eventually we get to this guy's house, and Dan's like, "Okay, just sit out here and wait." And that's what I do. He goes inside of the house, and he's knocking on the door for a couple of minutes, and then this guy, he finally answers, and he goes in. So I'm sitting out there waiting, and I was waiting for like 10 minutes, and I thought something might have happened to him, but, he was texting me. He was like, "Oh, it's all good, we're just catching up." So that was that, and eventually Dan comes out with these edibles. And we're walking down the street, and he shows me these bags, and I could already smell them with the bag closed. So these edibles, I already knew that they were going to be really fire. So we get to Vanessa's house, and Vanessa had found her key, luckily, and we all sit down in the living room, and we bust out these bags of edibles, and Vanessa gets one, and I get one, and Dan gets one, and Dan, he ends up eating a whole entire cookie, and he's like, "That's going to be good enough for me." So we're like, okay. He's like, "You guys should eat half." So me and Vanessa, we eat half of the cookie, and I was biting into it, and I was tasting weed. Like, this edible, I could already tell it was going to be pretty strong. So I was eating it, I ate half of it, and I was feeling it settle in my stomach. And I guess maybe it was a placebo effect, maybe it's like real, but I was starting to feel really relaxed after eating it. And after we finished eating the edibles, we went upstairs and we started rolling up a blunt. We smoked about half of this blunt, and then we were all like, "Okay, let's go to the park. Let's go smoke and finish this blunt at the park." So we put the blunt out, and we're getting ready to go, and we walk out the door. We're walking to the park. We get to the park, and we get to the forest, and we're walking in the forest. And at this point, we've walked a pretty far distance. It was kind of pretty far, I guess, because we were really stoned, and we had eaten those edibles, and yeah. So I hadn't been there for a while, so I guess things were kind of overgrown, so I couldn't really find the exact spot I was looking for. So we were walking around for a little while, but eventually we just settled on this one log to sit on, and all three of us were just sitting on this log, and we were like, "Okay, where's the weed? Where's the blunt?" And we were asking each other, we're like, "Where's the blunt?" And nobody had the blunt. We forgot it in the ashtray. Like, I couldn't believe it. We were checking each other's pockets. We're like, "I thought you had the blunt." And they're like, "No, I thought you had the blunt." And we just thought it was so funny. We weren't even like disappointed that we didn't have it. We're like, "Okay, we can just go back home and smoke it." And that's exactly what we did. We went back to Vanessa's house and we finished that blunt. And my mom picked me up right after that, and she took me home, and I ended up eating another half of the cookie. And I was just chilling in my room, playing on my computer, smoking a little bit, and waiting for the edible to hit. And, I was already just so high that it didn't really do much. Like, I still kind of felt it a little bit. I was already so stoned that I kind of just drifted off to sleep. I was watching Netflix and I just like laid down for half a second and just fell asleep. But yeah, this is basically the end of this story for today. I hope you guys did enjoy. Leave a like if you did, and peace.